This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Squarespace is the platform to build your own site with hundreds of templates to choose from podcasts all the way to online shops. Their features such as email campaigns, collecting donations, social sharing, member areas, and blogging tools provide all you need to freely manage your ventures and grow as a brand. On top of that, their analytics tools will help you gain powerful insights into who's visiting your site and how they're interacting with your content, which is arguably one of your most valuable assets. Head to squarespace.com/MelReads to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code MelReads.
Did anybody say book haul? Surely it wasn't me. The book buying band queen. I've been so obsessed with Batman. What happens if I try and do this with a Batman voice? Batman rashes. Okay, maybe it was me. Hi, friends. It's not that bad. All things considered, it's not that bad. Hi, friends. Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. See, this is the awkwardness of somebody who said, I'm not gonna buy any books in 2022. And then here I am doing a 30+ book haul. Something happened in the span of me saying I wasn't gonna buy any books and absolute insanity and lack of self-control. Something happened in that interim of time and I don't know what it was. It's like the chest itches. Like my body is just reacting. My body's like, you're lying. However, I do have plenty of books that I've bought recently, whether for book club stuff, for myself, for my own personal enjoyment, for videos, books that videos have made me buy because of other things that I've read in videos. It's just all over the place. I do have certain things that have been said to me by publishers as well. So let's get into the book haul. Let's get chatting. This court is out of business, but it's in business only for today. Let's go. Books that need no introduction. However, I'm just gonna get them out of the way because I did buy them. I did do that. And that is The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing, which are the sequel and the last installment for the Folk of the Air series. I reread The Cruel Prince for a video. You guys know how that went for me. It kind of actually went really well. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I still wanted to carry out the series. Finish it. This year for me is project completion. Any series that I start, I'm trying to finish. Also trying to finish series that I've already started. Don't ask me how it's going. All things considered, she's not doing that bad, and I really just kind of wanted to see how this would pan out, if the next book would be better. I had heard a lot of people say that The Wicked King was even better than The Cruel Prince, and they were not wrong. I did give it 5 stars, and I am very excited to now read The Queen of Nothing and see what happens. Because political intrigue, check. Angsty hate to love romance, check. That romance being between a fae and a human girl, check. Human girl vying for power in a fae world that wants her dead, check. I'm vibing. I'm vibing with this in a way that I didn't expect. I did get Kingdom of Ash. Now, I also got the Nerdy Ink dust jackets because they're really pretty, and I just really wanted to have both different covers for Throne of Glass because I already own the series in paperback, but a girl might have bought it in hardcover. We're not going to talk about it. I did find, and I had to do it, I found a signed tour edition of Kingdom of Ash. I have not been lucky or successful or fast enough, I should say, to get any arc, to get any tour edition, to get anything remotely special. So I was here for this moment, and I just kind of had to get it, kind of make up for everything else that I've missed, and so I did get this. Another special edition that was just a little too pretty to pass on, Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. This was absolutely like an impulse purchase. It's really pretty, and it's got really nice edges. It really was like a spur of the moment. I didn't even think about it when I should have sort of purchased. And so I got it. I obviously don't have the full set. Do I plan to get the whole set? Honestly, I don't think I'll be able to find it for like a reasonable price. More books that I read, but I just wanted to get a really special edition of it, and that is the Illumicrate Madeline Miller set. In this, we have both the Song of Achilles and Circe, and these are actually really, really stunning. I saw these. I totally forgot that Illumicrate was doing these, and so I saw these and I was like, damn right, they're doing them. And so I got ahead and got them. These are unsigned versions, but I was honestly not really looking for a signed edition. I was just looking for the pretty collectible ones, and they're pretty nice. They've got custom end papers on both of them, and they are different. So I was just in it for the vibes more than anything. And now that I have the Illumicrate version of Circe, I do think at some point this year I'm going to reread it. Another book that I've already read but I hauled recently, and that is Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead by El Cosimano. This is the continuation for Finlay Donovan is Killing It. However, I absolutely love the premise of Finlay, a suburban mom who is accidentally hired for murder. Although she is not an assassin, she is anything but. She is a writer. She writes romantic mysteries, but it is a very interesting interesting, wacky, sort of Melissa McCarthy type beat sort of story, and it was very, very entertaining. So I had to get the sequel. Also, it was one of my Patreon book club picks for the month of February, so I just kind of had to, you know, get it going. Next up, I have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, a classic that I've actually never read, but I'm really, really excited to give this a read. I know for a lot of people, this is like the quintessential like sci-fi horror sort of story. And whenever I talk about classics and people's favorite, I think Frankenstein is definitely one of those that generally comes up a lot. And so I'm really excited to experience this for the first time, probably in the fall, I'm not gonna lie, and see where it takes me as an experience. This is the Penguin English Library edition. Next up, I have a manga thanks to one of my patrons, Diana, and that is Orange. Orange has been sold out for such a long time, you guys. I have not been able to find this volume of Orange for the longest time. Every time I checked Amazon, I was like, today's the day where I'm gonna buy this, and it was always sold out. So I don't know how or why or when. I honestly, like, she was a lifesaver in this. I think when it comes to must-read manga, this is always one of those that comes up in recommendations, and in this one we follow our main character Naho. My instinctual self wants to say Naho, but I'm not sure. And she receives a letter 10 years in the future from herself, asking herself to watch over one of her classmates, Kakeru, who may just face a terrible future if she does not help him. I don't know where it's going. I genuinely don't know a single thing that happens in Orange, but I'm so excited to experience this. I've heard such incredible things. Maybe I should read this soon. Next up, I have a book that I have seen literally everywhere, and I was so confused. I was like, is this a new release? Is this an older release? I was so confused as to what was happening, but then I read the synopsis and I had to get it. That is The Thursday Murder Club. You guys know me. I typically don't read a lot of thriller horrors, but when I do, I just hope for the best, send a prayer up to heaven, and just literally await something somewhat good. However, I think the premise is super interesting because we follow kind of like an elderly club, like a mystery true crime club that calls themselves the Thursday Murder Club, and they solve previous crimes together, they solve jigsaw puzzles, and they now find themselves in the midst of a murder investigation of some sort, and they want to take it up to themselves to kind of solve what is happening, which is very vastly different to the fictional sort of investigations they've been carrying out so far. Sounds really, really interesting. This is a book I had never talked about before, but then I saw Katie talk about this book and I just had to get it because it sounds super interesting. It's translated fiction, and I definitely want to find and read some more of those, and that is The Traveling Cat Chronicles. In this one, we have a super unique descriptive narrative told from the perspective of a cat, as the cat and its owner go into this journey of traveling its owner's friends, and there are some things that I will assume develop in the midst of these travels that will lead to the chronicles of a traveling cat. One that I see everybody talk about and rave about, particularly Lexi, Alexandra Rosalind, I see her talk about this book all the time. I gave in, and that is, my instinct is always to go with the Spanish and go Piranesi. I don't know much about this book. I've just seen everybody rave about this, how the narrative is so compelling, unique, and interesting, and just all kinds of wonderful. So let's read the flap because I honestly don't know a lot about these. I'll read just kind of like a little bit of it. Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless, its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up staircases, rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. This sounds like so mystical and unique. I'm very excited to read this. I also love how short it is. I'm very excited. Another book that was a long time coming in terms of me buying it and hauling it, and that is Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. Before retrying an Enchantment of Ravens, I was still kind of iffy about the other of Margaret Rogerson's works, and so I kind of held off on buying them, kind of held off on trying them because I was really, really scared. And then I retried an Enchantment of Ravens, loved it, and immediately after I purchased the Folk of the Air series, I also got not only this, but also Sorcery of Thorns. So now the Margaret Rogerson collection is complete, and let me tell you, all three of her books are vastly different from each other, and I'm definitely here for it. In this book, we follow Artemisia, who is training to be a Grey Sister, and one day a group of possessed soldiers essentially attacks her convent, and she awakes a very ancient spirit through a relic in order to defend it. It is because of her awakening this spirit that she now has to figure out how to contain it, how to work it, and there is nobody who knows that except for the Vespertines, who are no longer around. And so now she needs to unravel all of the secrets behind dark magic, the convent, the revenant, the relic, and ancient gods by herself. Sounds super cool, and I hope it delivers. booktubers, hopefully. And now for Sorcery of Thorns, I know very little about this one and I kind of want to keep it that way. In this one, I know obviously because of the title, Sorcery of Thorns, I know it revolves around magic. I believe the main character is a sorceress, but what is so cool about this, supposedly, and the reason why I'm so excited to read it is because when I read An Enchantment of Ravens, everybody raved about Sorcery of Thorns, and I know a lot of people consider this one to be their favorite Margaret Rogerson. Not only that, but everybody was pitching this to me as a house-moving castle meets dark academia, and there need not be more words in that sentence because that is absolutely perfect, and I genuinely hope I get it all. Another book that I was not planning to buy, however, I've been intrigued about this book for a minute there, and I just kind of thought about it in a sort of strategic way down the line where I know whatever video I plan in the future, this video will most likely make an appearance on my research for one of them. That is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I have never read a Matt Haig book before, however, I know this one in particular tends to be very hit or miss for people. I do think the premise is very interesting, and I do know that it delves into very deep topics about mental health because the premise essentially is going into this deep exploration about what makes a life fully lived and what choices and consequences lead to that. And so I know we follow the main character Nora, and there is this sort of in-between life and death, which is the Midnight Library. And what I believe happens is that you get a glimpse of another life, essentially. If you would have made different choices, what would have happened? Would your life be any different? Would you feel any differently? Things pan out the same. And I think that's a very interesting exploration, especially given it's a very personal thing for me, but I know it happens to a lot of people as well. I'm naturally an overthinker, and I'm honestly always going, if I would have done things differently, how would things be now? And I think this book will not only be very helpful to like assimilate a lot of personal feelings, but also just a really nice deep read. A book that I never thought I would buy, but then one of my patrons talked about it and then I was intrigued and I got it, and that is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. And I know a lot of people love, what's his other book? Yeah, All the Light We Cannot See. And I have no interest in that book. I know it's historical fiction set in World War II, not necessarily a narrative that is appealing to me, and it's chunky and it's big and it's good and it's floppy. I managed to get a paperback of it. I don't know the ins and outs of the plot. From a Pulitzer Prize winning author of one of the most beloved and best-selling novels of our time comes a triumph of imagination and compassion, a soaring story about children on the cusp of adulthood in a world in peril who find resilience, hope, and a book. And when you have the trope of a book within a book, Mel comes annexed to the book. It just sounds so beautiful. Dedicated to the librarian's den now and in the years to come, Cloud Cuckoo Land is a beautiful and redemptive novel about stewardship of the book, of the earth, of the human heart. A girl is way too excited about this. I hope it bodes well for me because bitch is long. Another adult high fantasy, and that is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Shout out to Yaya, one of my patrons, who sent this my way, and I'm very, very excited because you guys know I'm very excited to experience John Gwynne this year. I'm here for the vibes, and this huge ass dragon on the cover, dude, don't get me started. Legends tell of the great long ago battle of the gods. Whenever you've got gods and deities involved, you guys know me. I don't have to tell you again. You guys know me. It is a Norse-inspired epic of blood and vengeance. When the gods fought, it was a battle so savage they destroyed themselves, leaving nothing but their bones and the broken land of Vigrid in their wake. Now, as whispers of war echo over the fjords and across the plains, fate follows in the footsteps of three warriors, a huntress on a perilous quest, a noblewoman pursuing battle fame, and a thrall seeking retribution among the mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn. All three will change the course of the world as it once more falls under the shadow of the gods. I can't wait. It's just the damn dragon. It's the damn I want more dragon stories that actually have like good ass dragons in them. I've got two middle grades to show you, and the first one is thanks to one of my patrons, Stefana, thank you so much, and that is The Haunting of Evelyn Jones. I have heard really amazing things. I actually also asked Gav, I was like, Gav, have you read this? And he was like, that's actually really good. And so I'm really excited to just add more middle grades to my collection and also read this very, very soon. And in this one, we follow Evelyn Jones, who is very much in love and obsessed with ghost stories. And eventually someone goes missing in her very small town, and she will dive deep into this investigation. And in the midst of it, she will realize realize, hopefully so, that somebody or something is after her and it will stop at nothing to get her. It sounds terrifying, to be quite honest with you. If I had read this as a kid, I would have genuinely thunk somebody was after me, something or someone. And it sounds terrifying. We'll see how it goes. And one of Gab's favorites, which is also going to be our main book club pick for the month of April for Patreon, and that is A Pinch of Magic. One that I know absolutely nothing about. I literally copy and pasted the synopsis onto Patreon. I'm not looking at it. I don't want to know nothing about it. I just know the cover is stunning. People adore this book, and I am excited for a family story. I know it follows 3 sisters, I believe. It's barely the only thing I know, and I'm just excited to see their lived experiences, how they get out of the mess that they get themselves into, and what the magic will be like in this world. Some sequels were also acquired, and those are the sequels to The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. The second one, European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman, and the third, The Sinister Mystery of the Mesmerizing Girl. My eyes failed me for a second. And these covers, I live for these. There's some new covers. I think you guys will know what I'm talking about. Something Spindle, something. Everybody's talking about these books, and the covers for those are very similar to these. It's Victoria Spindle? Victoria, if you guys know, you know. If you that girl, you that girl. I bought these because we're doing a read along for these over on Patreon, because we're reading the first one in March, and then this one in April, this one in May. And so again, series completion is here for me, and I'm very excited. Again, I am trying to keep this all to a bare minimum in terms of my knowledge of it before I go into the first book. All I know, it's a gothic retelling of Jekyll and Hyde, Sherlock Holmes, of all of those gothic stories that we know and love. I believe Frankenstein is also involved. I genuinely don't know. I just know that I am very excited to read this. I've heard great things. I know Meg loves it, Liv loves it, Katie loves it. I will trust the people, I will trust them, and hope that this goes well for me. I also have All of Us Villains, which I have not heard a lot about. I know a lot of people were hauling this back when it came out, and then the price dropped a hell of a lot on Amazon. I remember seeing that. The book was being sold for like $7, like the hardcover, which was odd. And then nobody talked about it anymore. So I don't know what to expect with this one, but I'm really excited because again, I've talked about this before, being detached from people's opinions when going into a book, honestly, pretty great sometimes. And a shout out goes to Ms. Day because she actually sent this over to me, and the tagline for this, the blood moon rises, the blood veil falls, the tournament begins. I've been so obsessed with Batman. What happens if I try and do this with a Batman voice? Blood moon rises. I was trying to go for the Where Street, but no. Anyway, not a lot I know about this book. I know this book was pitched as like a Hunger Games meets something else, but beyond that, I don't really have a lot of info about this. Again, this year I'm trying to go into books a little bit more blindly, but knowing just enough. You guys have heard me talk about this book before, and that is Gallant by V.A. Schwab. I absolutely love this cover. I also love the size of the book. It's like one of those books that are like weirdly sized. Also got illustrations. And, oh, the end papers. Ooh, this was sexy. However, it's the gift note of this, because this book literally got here today. It's the gift note that absolutely killed me. Shout out to Simone who got this for me. I know you're focusing on your physical TBR, but I wanted to make sure you had this bad boy from Schwab. I hope you enjoyed like Addie, not like A Darker Shade of Magic. And I've already talked about this book before. It's like shadow magic. This girl who needs to go back home and kind of embrace her heritage, but her heritage is very dark. And we just don't want to go there because I believe somebody in her family is evil or something, but let's hope that she does something with this one. Everything casts a shadow, even the world we live in. Got a few poetry books right here. This is also the year where I'm trying to get more into poetry. I've never been a big poetry girl. However, after reading a few Kaoru books last year, I really just, it's just literal medicine for the soul. It just hits all kinds of different. And so the first one I have here is Break Your Glass Slippers by Amanda Lovelace. And I saw this, I can't remember where I saw this. I don't know if it was in a book recommendation, because I definitely at some point looked up poetry book recommendations, and I don't know if I saw that there or if I saw this on like a random Goodreads update. I can't remember, but the back of this says, "Dear Prince, if you tried to find me now, you wouldn't be able to. You see, when I finally learned how to love myself, everything about me changed." So that's one, and thank you to Marcus for sending this over to me. Then we have Where Hope Comes From by Nikita Gill, and this was sent to me by the lovely Mon, Miss Kira. I absolutely love her. And the back of this says, We may not know each other, we may never meet, but if you chance upon this book, I want you to know that no matter what you're going through, no matter how big and deep and painful those feelings are, you are not alone. I believe this is a book that Nikita Gill wrote during the pandemic or close to the pandemic. I can't remember the time frame exactly of when this was published and written. I know Nikita Gill from like Instagram, it's like everybody posts her stuff, and so I'm really excited to experience it myself for the first time. And for the last poetry book I have here, it is Clarity and Connection by Young Pueblo. I also saw this, I think this one I did see in one of those poetry book recommendations on YouTube, and the back reads, find a partner who accepts you as you are, but also inspires you to evolve because they take their own growth seriously. Love will not seek to change you. It will embrace you so unconditionally that you will feel safe enough to heal the old and put effort into the new. The courage you both have to stay committed to the inner journey will reflect brightly on your relationship. I think I'm gonna try and squeeze this. I mean, not that it's a hard doc, but I think I'm gonna read this in March because I'm in great need for something short and sweet, again, in between those larger reads. And last but not least, I have got some books sent to me by publishers. So the very first one, which I have a double copy of, is Seasonal Fears. So for some reason Tor sent me 2 copies of a Seasonal Fears art, and so I have 2 of these. This is the companion novel sequel to Middle Game by Shannon Maguire, and if you guys know me, it's one of my favorite books of all time, and so I'm really excited to dive into the sequel. The main character name is Melanie. I've got no idea what this is going to do after what book 1 did and accomplished, so I'm scared, but I'm very excited to read this. I'm very excited. I've been putting it off because I'm scared. I am very terrified of this, but we'll read this in April. These also got here today. So the first one is Skander and the Unicorn Thief by A.F. Stedman, and I believe this is a middle grade. Yes, it is a middle grade. And the back of this says, unicorns don't belong in fairy tales, they belong in nightmares. This comes out in May as well. Skander Smith has always yearned to leave the mainland and escape to the secretive island where wild, bloodthirsty unicorns roam free. He spent years studying for his hatchery exam, the annual test that selects a handful of mainlander 13-year-olds to train to become unicorn riders. But on the day of Skander's exam, things go horribly wrong, and his hopes are shattered until a mysterious figure knocks on his door at midnight. The island is in peril, and Skander must answer its call. I've never heard of this before. Have you guys heard of this before? It sounds super cool, and I don't think I've ever heard of the concept of unicorns being bloody and bad and, you know, being related and associated to nightmares. It's a stunning arc. Like, the foil text, are all middle grade arcs this cool? Because this is incredible. This is like a full-blown like finished paperback. This is a book that already came out, but it got here super recently, so I don't know if this got lost in the mail and then my P.O. box located it. I don't know what happened with this one, but it did come out, I think, March 1st, and this is Turning by Joy L. Smith, and this is a debut novel. Jeannie used to fauteuil across the stage. Now the only things she's turning are the wheels to her wheelchair. Healing also means confronting the booze that her mother, a recovering alcoholic, has been hiding under the kitchen sink, confronting the ex-boyfriend who was there the night of the fall and won't leave her alone, confronting her own biggest, most terrifying secret, the fact that the accident may not have been so accidental at all. And the cover. Thank you so much to Simon & Schuster for both of those books, because the other one was also from Simon & Schuster. And last but not least, also sent to me by the author, is The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale. And I believe this book is a commentary and an exploration about love. It's a memoir. Haley McGee is in debt. The only solution, a yard sale of gifts from her ex-boyfriends. But when it comes to pricing, she gets stuck. Surely the ways we invest in our romantic relationships should be reflected in the price. Is the mixtape from your first love worth more than the vintage typewriter from a philanderer? Does sitting on an X-Acto knife wedged between seats on a bus to see the boyfriend you lost your virginity to increase or decrease the value of the necklace he gave you? As Haley McGee interrogates her romantic triumphs and failures with unflinching detail and hilarity, her exquisite prose elevates this all-too-human conundrum. Is love worth it? Thank you so much to the author for going out of their way to send this my way, because it honestly sounds really cool. And that is it for today, you guys. That is today's book haul, the book haul for the past however many months, 3.5 months or so. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a massive thumbs up down below. If you've read any of these books, as always, let a girl know what are some books that you've hauled recently. I always love seeing what you guys are adding to your collections, what you've enjoyed recently, and maybe what you want me to add to mine and try out soon. I am always open for suggestions. If you reached the end of the video, let's also leave a stack of books emoji down below. I think it's always really fitting when it comes to books book hauls, and don't forget to subscribe down below for more bookish content. I am constantly uploading videos that I am sure you do not want to miss. And if you want to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon. We call ourselves the Citadel, and there's a bunch of stuff over there that you're not gonna see anywhere else. So the link for that is always in my description alongside all of my social medias. I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye guys.